Welcome back to American Sunrise. Time now to take the political pulse of America. In the beat today, FBI Director Kash Patel has announced the Bureau will be cutting ties with the Anti-Defamation League. According to The Hill, an archived ADL page reportedly said individuals associated with TPUSA, quote, have a history of bigoted statements about the Black community, the LGBTQ community, and specifically transgender people and other minority groups. Now, Elon Musk is joining the fight, urging the FBI to cut ties with the Southern Poverty Law Center next. Let's welcome to American Sunrise the host of Human Events Daily here on Real America's Voice, Jack Posobiec. Wake up, pray up, Jack. Thank you so much for waking up early and being with us today.
Wake up, pray up. Thanks so much for having me on. And by the way, just before we went to air here, I just did get word that the FBI has come down and they have officially severed ties with the SPLC. This follows Elon Musk kind of going on a retweet spree of my previous reporting on the SPLC yesterday, and then of course the FBI announcing that they were cutting ties with the ADL yesterday. This is an organization, the SPLC. One day before Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, he was targeted by the SPLC in their Hatewatch newsletter. And then just 4 months before Charlie was shot and killed, the SPLC had placed Turning Point USA on their hate map that they put across the country, specifically referring to Charlie's comments on transgender, the trans agenda, his support for traditional marriage, his Christianity, and all sorts of things that are just, again, we all know who Charlie was. He was mainstream conservative and a Christian. And they have been targeting Turning Point USA with this massive study that was dropped just a few months before his assassination.
You know, this just hits wrong on every level. This seems to me to be something that not only conservatives should care about, Jack. There should be free speech advocates all over the country on both sides of the aisle reaching out and supporting the right side of free speech here. But we don't tend to hear from any of these groups or even people who go on TV and proclaim their free speech rights. Every time conservatives complain that Bud Light has an untasteful commercial using a tranny instead of just a regular person, Joe Sixpack, right, in their commercials, and then we're infringing on their free speech rights. Are you hearing from anyone on the other side who supports Turning Point and this the right side of this issue?
Well, Dr. Ginny, you'll typically hear people will say things like, take Barack Obama, for example. So he's essentially the head of the Democrat Party for all intents and purposes. And what did he do? He said, I condemn political violence. But then in the very next breath, he turned around and said, but I also don't agree with what Charlie Kirk stood for. So rather than leave it as a blanket condemnation of a horrific act of unspeakable evil to a man who is a friend to all of us, and I know worked out of the same studio as you guys for many times, many shows, he would come in down there in the studio and be there doing his show and hanging out with everybody. It was always great, and he was so gracious and gregarious with his time, even when he was very busy. And Barack Obama would start criticizing him and bringing up statements, twisting them, twisting his words, putting him out of context. So reminding his followers and his supporters that Charlie is a bad person and Charlie what perhaps in some way deserved what happened to him. That's Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton also came out and said white Christian men can never be allowed to return to power in America just a few days after Charlie was shot and killed. So white Christian men, just like Charlie Kirk. Now, that being said, with the SPLC, to be fair, to answer your question, they have received a lot of criticism from the left as well, not in regards to Charlie Kirk, but in regards to how they raise their money, the fact that they are a scam, the fact that they have over $800 billion in terms of their endowment. There, you're looking at an image right now of what they call the Poverty Palace, this giant facility that they have down in Montgomery, Alabama, that is raised through mail scams and shakedowns of people saying that horrific things will happen if the SPLC is not donated to immediately. They have also tens of millions of dollars, and the Daily Signal has done great reporting on this. down in the Cayman Islands that they use as a tax shelter. So this group, by the way, they don't exist actually to quote unquote fight hate. What they do is they take conservatives like Charlie Kirk, like myself, and even, by the way, Dr. Ben Carson back in
Yeah.
2014 was named an extremist by the
Yep.
SPLC, and they'll go after them, and then all the money that they get, they pocket.
Yeah, I want to add one thing, Emily, and then I'll let you continue. This is an organization that started out supposedly to expose the KKK, and they've used that relevance to continue this crusade, mapping conservatives. I've been on that list too, Jack. Back when I was doing local radio in Alabama, believe it or not, I got on their list, and that was a scary moment for me because they do target them, dox them, and all the rest. Emily, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Jack, I mean, I saw the reports on X that when you Google your name, one of the first links that comes up is SPLC, negative articles about you from some of the work that you and I have done in the past. I mean, it's horrible to see, knowing what happened to Charlie just days after that Hatewatch newsletter came out. There needs to be some kind of accountability here for the SPLC.
I think that's right. And I certainly do think, and I would absolutely urge the Attorney General of Alabama, as well as the Department of Justice federally, to look into these mail schemes and potential mail fraud that may have been conducted. Of course, as everyone knows, when you use the post office for mail fraud, that is a federal crime. And so I think those practices really need to be looked into at the federal level, as well as the state level. Alabama, of course, one of the reddest states in the nation. And the fact they're ensconced right there in Montgomery certainly seems as a key example of an organization that needs to be looked into because of these shady practices, which again, their shady practices have been exposed by the left, by far left outlets like Current Affair, which is practically a pro-communist outlet. And even they have called out the SPLC. So this isn't coming from me. This is coming from the left. By the way, Dr. Gina, you mentioned it. The reason they call themselves this is because Martin Luther King Jr.'s organization was the Southern Christian Leadership Conference,
Exactly.
the SCLC. So again, they're playing a game to make it sound as if they have some association with Martin Luther King, but instead they changed the name. They have different they have people behind the scenes. But yes, Emily, to your point, they have some sort of collusive relationship with Google, whereby if you Google my name, Stephen Miller, or a number of people, for some reason the SPLC's account, which isn't even a new article, it's from like over half a decade ago, is the very first thing that's populated. And we know they have these ties. They also have ties to Amazon Smile, where Jeff Bezos allows them into the Amazon charity program. All of these are things that need to be looked into.
Yeah, and I think legal action needs to be taken. Jack, we know that now this has led to these various groups, these Facebook groups that are doxing Christians for having a Christian fish on their car, a flag in their yard, all the rest, and they are exposing them. If you go to church, they'll take a picture of your license plate because you went to church, and now they're targeting you. This all comes out of that same vein of thought. I think we all need to start taking legal action against them because I'm not sure what our better defense is. Yes.
Well, yeah, actually, when the FBI, so the previous iteration of the FBI, when they were conducting those surveillance, the infiltration of Catholic groups, if you go and look at the FBI's operation, the articles, the research that they were using to as a probable cause to conduct surveillance against Catholic groups were not FBI reports; they were SPLC reports. So they were reading things in the SPLC and then turning it over to FBI surveillance and infiltration divisions to go after Catholics. Mm-hmm. That's how close the relationship with the SPLC was with the FBI just a few years ago.
Jack Posobiec, thank you so much for joining our show this morning. We could have spent so much more time talking about all of this. This is awesome. We'll have to have you back soon. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jack. God bless.
Thanks so much, guys. Let's do it again.
All right. Now let's send it over to David Brody for the Rav Chat Report.
Ladies, thank you for the week that was in the Rav Chat. Let's bring Carefree Largo with us. He's with us every week.
David, unfortunately, it looks like we're having some audio issues on your end over there. But Carefree, I'm so excited to see you. Let's bring you into the show for what's been going on in the Rav Chat.
Emily Finn, a fine Irish rose. How are you this morning?
Living the dream, Carefree. That is awesome that you just said that.
Well, it is a better week in America. It's a good time to be a little bit more happy. We were all very, very excited about Secretary of War Pete Hegseth He brought in all the big brass to give them the talking to that all of us in the chat have wanted him to do since the day he took the job. Even David Brody said there were no conference calls going on there. Even the president joined him to bring the message of bringing the military back away from a failure of the woke DEI ravaged War Department, bringing him back to a level of lethality and a return to the military's policies of personal fitness, integrity, and a return to personal hygiene. In other words, a clean-shaven military for a while. The whole chat was excited about the whole thing. Dana Weber, one of our favorites, exclaimed, much like Rashida Tlaib, I shaved today. You go, Dana. You look fantastic, too. I'm sure you do. Hard questions. My buddy HQ said the fat brass are sweating it now, literally. And the entire audience loved that Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War and the President of the United States, were saying what we've all been thinking for such a very, very long time, which it's time to get back to the business of protecting our country and not looking so much into an inward at our personal lives. We, the people here, are also, especially those like me, people of an advanced age, we're thrilled that the president and Secretary Kennedy are rolling out a new Pfizer price control initiative as well. Truly, this is overdue. And we believe that it's going to improve the lives of a lot of older people, such as myself. All of us on social media were very, very excited to hear that Rav is partnering with Angel Studios. It is a match made in heaven, as I like to say. Sparkling Galaxy in our chat asked a very good question, Emily. Has Disney ever really made a faith-based movie? And the more I think about it, the more I am unable to answer that question. I am a big Disney fan from years ago, but I can't think of a single one. What the Zen Master is so excited about is having all of us here join in with Angel Studios in the Angel Guild. The Angel Guild gives you an unprecedented opportunity to weigh in on what productions Angel Studios puts in line next, and you get a voice on that. The Zen Master wants us all to get in the guild and get involved so that you use your phone. You can scan a code right off of the screen on your TV for Angel Studios that will bring up a little code that you can punch on, and you can get involved and actually have some say in what's going on. Why is this so important? It's important to me because the entertainment world simply needs it. Every streaming base out there is now trying to create a faith-based nugget, and that's not what we want. We want the entire thing to be faith-based, true, honest, something we can sit down with our families and enjoy and not be embarrassed to watch. And I think that is super, super important, especially now, Emily, because you can take Real America's Voice everywhere you are all day long, whether you're on your computer, watching TV, streaming it on satellite, or on your favorite website. Real America's Voice is with me all day long. I have my phone, I got my tablet. They're everywhere I go because Real America's Voice is everywhere I want to be.
And you won't miss a second of it. Carefree Largo, we so appreciate your Rav Chat reports. I am so impressed that you got two nicknames in today, Zen Master and the Irish Rose. That was very fun. Right. Thank you so much, Carefree. All right, we'll be back with more American Sunrise in just a moment. Stick with us.